The main thing I have been watching and trying to finish up on because, there was a episode in the last season that was super hyped up, and that is Star Wars: The Clone Wars. So first, I'm gonna give you guys my initial thoughts on the show, then I'll give you guys a episode guide, watch guide, because a lot of the show is filler. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if you see an episode with Padme and Jar Jar, if any of those characters are involved, just skip it. Just skip the 3 to 4 episodes that they're in. Just skip them. But not gonna lie, some of the Padme stuff is watchable, but the Jar Jar stuff is it's straight filler. I don't even remember any of the Jar Jar episodes. There was even Jar Jar episodes in season 6, which was the Netflix season that they did. I was like, why is he here? And that was the second to last arc within season 6. But anyways, so my thoughts on the show as a whole, it's really, really good. There are really, really good arcs in the show that really expand on the Star Wars, Clone Wars sort of I guess mythology or story or whatever. And the show is canon. It does take place between episode 2 and 3. And season 7 does bleed into episode 3, and that was really, really, really fun to watch. I'll get into my thoughts on season 7 at the end. And the highs for the show are really, really high. The arcs with Darth Maul, with Obi-Wan, and the last arc for Ahsoka in season 5. Those are some really, really good arcs. And then obviously the lows that I mentioned earlier, the arcs with Jar Jar or Padme, those are pretty you could skip those 100%. But I watched the entire show just to make sure that I got everything. And there is no perfect season. By far there is no perfect season. There are perfect arcs, like I said earlier, the final arc with Ahsoka in season 5, and the final 4 episodes of season 7 where it starts bleeding into episode 3. That's fantastic. And this is a anthology series, which is why a watch guide is usable, because there are ways to watch the show that you don't have to watch in chronological order, or even and what I mean by chronological order is timeline wise, because the first technical first episode of the show is in season 3 or something, which is very strange. So there are definitely different ways you could watch the show. You could watch it like I did with just watching it, episode 1 through the last on each season, or you could watch it in episode guide list or whatever. And the arcs and the stories for this series are 3 to 4 episodes, or they're one-off episodes. The one-off episodes, sometimes they're filler, sometimes they're very, very interesting stories that they want to tell within one episode as well. The visuals, if you're going to start on season 1, they're pretty bad, I'm not going to lie, but they do get noticeably better as the show does go on. Season 2 gets a little bit better, but season 3 noticeably is really, really good. And season 7, since it is a Disney Plus show, they obviously got that Disney money now, season 7 just looks fantastic and phenomenal for a CGI cartoon show. And the violence for the show is extremely high. I'm very, very surprised at how often they kill people, because one time, all right, so one of the arcs is Darth Maul, and Obi-Wan obviously he's oh shit, I gotta stop Darth Maul, and then he goes to fight him with this Jedi that I've never seen before, and I was this person's gonna fucking die. And literally 5 minutes into the fight, she dies, and I was okay, there we go. People are dying by lightsaber stabbings, decapitation, even there is some pretty violent stuff in this show for a kids show, and I was okay, that's cool. And obviously characters, like I said earlier, Ahsoka, Anakin, Obi-Wan, the clones, and then villains like Darth Maul, like I mentioned earlier, Cad Bane, and Asajj Ventress. Arcs that involve those characters are all fantastic. Anakin, if you hated him in the movies, that is understandable, but in this show, he's a really, really good character. He doesn't just whine or whatever. He actually thinks about his actions, and you see that he is willing to kill people for his friends, or just get the job done sort of thing. So you sort of see him lean towards the dark side a little bit, which is obviously foreshadowed because of what happens to him at the end, which really sucks now that I've watched the show. And the Obi-Wan arcs, they are fantastic. there is a arc in the show where he literally fakes his death and he goes undercover, and that arc was like something that I didn't think I wanted, but it is fantastic when I was watching it. And the Ahsoka arcs and her character as a whole, like she is surprisingly very, very fleshed out and a very good character. Because like when the show first started out, like season one is not all that good by comparison to everything else. But you can tell that like they're sort of playing like the sort of like campy like Saturday morning cartoon sort of style show before they like get into like the super like serious like story driven kind of stuff. And Ahsoka was a part of that, so eventually she does become like a pretty good character and a pretty fun character to watch, all things considered. The clones are obviously part of the show because this is the Clone Wars, and the episodes that focus on them, they aren't filler and they're actually really good, surprisingly, because I was like, what the hell, like I'm focused on like the army for the Republic, and like these episodes that focus on them are like surprisingly fun and entertaining to watch. And the villains, Cad Bane, he's like the bounty hunter that you see at the end of season 1 going into season 2, and every story that involves him is like super duper good, along with Darth Maul and Asajj Ventress, which is like, she is the apprentice to Count Dooku, and her story and how she shapes within the show is very interesting and very fun to watch as well. But yeah, and then season 7, now I get and understand the hype behind the trailer, and why people were super duper excited for it was because like the way the show ended, like there were still more things to discuss, and everything that happens within season 7, like they planned out obviously years and years before it got canceled and shelved or whatever, but they finally brought it back and they were able to finish the story that they wanted to do. And overall season 7, like the last 4 episodes are by far the best, but the other 8 episodes that happened before it are okay to really bad to other people's opinions. The first 4 episodes is a clone sort of like focused story arc, which in my opinion was pretty good. I really liked the interactions that they had with this new like sort of like clone like team. And then the second arc focused on Ahsoka and like these 2 sisters that she met because of things that happened within the show. I'm not gonna like spoil anything major, but yeah, like things that happened, like this is a Ahsoka focused arc that didn't deliver as highly as people really wanted, but I think we needed this arc just to like settle us into the last 4 episodes, which are just like pure perfection and like pretty much the highest level of like Clone Wars stuff. So yeah, like in retrospect, like it is a really bad and like boring arc, but like I think because it involves Ahsoka, like I'm willing to give it a lot more slack, honestly. But yeah, like overall season 7, I think if you just account the last 4 episodes, like it is fantastic, but everything else that happens before those last 4 episodes, it's okay by best. So now I'm gonna quickly get into my watch guide. I'm going to be recommending 62 episodes out of the 133, so that's less than half of the show. Inspirations for this guide I will leave in the description below, including the Cosmonaut Variety Hours video on the Clone Wars, because his video pretty much wanted me to like actually watch the show before like any of the season 7 stuff was actually going to happen. And then, yeah, so let's just jump into it. And I will also leave a link in the description below to like this watch guide as well if you want to like follow it. It's going to be like a Google Doc document. So yeah, so first up is the season 1 episodes that aren't that bad. They're my personal favorites. They are very campy and very much like Saturday morning cartoon sort of style or whatever. They're just 4 episodes here. Episodes 6 and 7. It involves Anakin, Ahsoka, and R2 in R2 gets like lost in battle and they get like a new droid, and Anakin's like, I don't fucking like this new droid. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And we get to see on how that plays out within 2 episodes. And then there's a arc with Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Count Dooku, and that is episodes 11 and 12. And that is they pretty much are able to capture Count Dooku, and like you see how like that sort of plays out, because Count Dooku's gonna fucking escape because it's only season 1. Next up are the good clone episodes. So season 1, episode 5, Rookies. This is like the first clone episode that really showed that people, like, hey, we could make episodes about the clones and it's not that bad. The next episode I'm going to recommend is season 2, episode 10. This is called The Deserter. This is about like a clone that went like AWOL and sort of just like said, hey, this war's not for me and I'm going to live my own life. And you get to see how that sort of plays out from the perspective of Commander Rex, because he gets injured in battle and he lives on like this farm where the deserter lives, and he gets to see that sort of perspective or whatever. Next one is season 3, episodes 1 and 2, the Clones in Training. This is about a squad that are not, working all that well together, and you get to see them, get through that sort of thing about, teamwork and all that good stuff. And yeah, like this is another like really good like clone arc. And then season 4, episode 7 through 10, New Authority. This is about Commander Rex and Anakin are on a mission, and then Anakin is told to go back to the Republic, and then they get a new Jedi to like lead them, and like he's pretty much like treating the clones as like disposable troops, which is they are not by any means, because these are people. But he sort of just treats them like that, and they get conflict, things like that. And yeah, this is another one of those like super duper good like clone arcs as well. Introducing Death Watch. This arc is pretty important for the later parts of the show, especially involving Darth Maul. So this is season 2, episode 12 to 14. Introducing Cad Bane. He's personally one of my favorite villains of the show. He was the season 1 finale, episode 22, season 1. Then it bleeds into season 2, episodes 1 through 3. So, it is a 4-episode arc. It's just that they treated it as a season 1 finale going into season 2. But yeah, he is a really, really good character and pretty fun to watch. Geonosis Arc. This is a arc involving Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka. And this is season 2, episodes 5 through 8. The Nightsisters Arc. This is a Asajj Ventress arc, and it also introduces Savage Opress. He is going to be a pretty important character alongside Darth Maul throughout his stuff, and that is season 3, episodes 12 through 14. Mortis Arc. This is a what if story sort of thing. So like pretty much what happens in the beginning of the story, by the end of it, everything gets like resolved, like people's minds get erased and things like that. So this is season 3, episodes 15 through 17. There's some crazy shit that happens in here. I'm not gonna lie, like this arc, I was literally just like, what the hell is going on? Like I don't know what's going on, but like I'm enjoying it. The Citadel Arc, this is pretty much like a prison break arc. This one also involves Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, and Anakin, along with the what if story that I just mentioned earlier. Season 3, episodes 18 through 20. So that is right after the Mortis arc that I mentioned earlier. Ahsoka Tano Lost Arc. That's what I'm going to dub it as, because not a lot of people actually talk about this when it comes to their watch guides, but I think that this is a pretty important Ahsoka arc. This is the season 3 finale, season 3, episodes 21 and 22. And this arc also shows how dedicated Anakin is to Ahsoka. So when you eventually get to the season 5 finale arc, which is Ahsoka Framed, which is season 5, episodes 17 through 20, like you see on how important Ahsoka is to Anakin and how, that sort of entire thing shapes up. The Cadvo arc, which is like a slave sort of arc, and if you didn't know, Anakin was a slave before he became a Jedi, and like you see how that stuff sort of like triggers him throughout this entire arc. Season 4, episodes 11 through 13. Deception arc. This was the arc I mentioned earlier where Obi-Wan fakes his own death and becomes a bounty hunter. This is season 4, episodes 15 through 18. This one features Cad Bane, so that's why this arc is also pretty good, because Cad Bane's in it. Asajj story continues along with the return of Darth Maul in this arc for season 4, episodes 19 through 22. And then we get into the meat of like the Darth Maul sort of empire arc. The beginning of season 5 is episode 1, and then it picks up later in season 5 with episodes 14 through 16. That is some pretty good Star Wars right there, like that arc for the Darth Maul stuff. Ahsoka Framed, I already mentioned. And then the final arc. So I already mentioned that the final 4 episodes of season 7, episodes 9 through 12, are pretty good, but season 6, episodes 1 through 4, this is like the clones' discovery of like the chip for Order 66 sort of thing. Like this is where they actually discover that, but no one really like cares or whatever, which is very interesting and very weird on how that plays out. But I think that this arc is really important going into the final arc of season 7, and you'll see if you actually watch these last 8 episodes. But yeah, that's pretty much my entire watch guide. Hopefully that wasn't too long. I know that I talked a lot, but that is 62 out of the 133 episodes that I recommended. There are still a lot of good arcs that I did not recommend. You know, you can obviously do your own research and jump around and things like that. But yeah, the Clone Wars is definitely a series that you should definitely try to watch. It is on Disney Plus. Everything's on there, and it is pretty good. So start wherever you want, but don't start too deep into the show, is all I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, I was always looking forward to like watching it. Like the only things I've seen, because I wanted to watch it for a while, but I only watched like the movie and maybe like 2 episodes and I stopped. So I probably should pick it up again, because everyone's hyping up like the last 4 episodes, like you said. I've heard nothing but good things about that. So yeah, I'm probably gonna be picking it up again, I think.
Yeah, if you just want to watch the last 4 episodes, I could just recommend like the arcs that would be the best. Pretty much any arc that I like starred, where it involves the Geonosis Arc, the What If Arc, the Citadel Arc, then the Ahsoka stuff, and I think the Darth Maul stuff's also important because it involves Obi-Wan in there, obviously. So when you get to the final arc, you'll see the entire payoff of the show, because I definitely skipped a lot of the filler that I didn't recommend. So
Wow, you don't want to watch Jar Jar?
No, I don't want to watch Jar Jar. I don't want to watch like this one arc. I believe it was the beginning of season 4 or something like that, where like they were defending like this ocean sort of like base, and they were doing it for like politic reasons or whatever. And I was just like, okay, I really don't care, but I'm gonna watch it. But enough of Clone Wars. Let's get into our last topic.